End up and be counted. Next time the contracts go to the Chinese, shut up.
And I'm curious, why would we need to shut up? That clip is from a discussion that was being held that included Dr. Arikana. And for the record, I respect and hold Dr. Arikana in high regard. But I'm not comfortable with that discussion because what it was about, one portion of it was about the American black being open to putting their hat in for huge contracts. And the problem I have with it is the overall tone is disrespectful, but it also, on some level, is very disingenuous. If there has been a huge discussion where the American black has been invited to be a part of large contracts and on the continent, I'm talking about large to the level to be competitive with the Chinese, the Lebanese. I'm unaware of it. First of all, the American black makes up 13 to 14% of the U.S. population. Okay, and even though we have access to a large percentage of money, enough money where we could be our own nation, the fact of the matter is we have been turned into consumers. We simply spend a big chunk of our money as a buyer. And Dr. Claude Anderson will tell you there's no such thing as buying power. You lose power when you constantly buying. We are not practicing any form of group economics. I'm talking about where it's real muscle. We're still struggling to figure that out amongst ourselves. So if we're not practicing group economics like the Chinese, the Lebanese, various other groups, then who could you possibly be talking about when you're talking about, throwing our hand up and finding ourselves to be counted, and if we're not going to be counted, to shut up? There's only a small percentage of us that we can even reflect and say, these people are billionaires. That would be somebody like Magic Johnson, like Oprah Winfrey, like Tyler Perry. We only have even a small percentage of those people, the Michael Jordans of the world. Who have you invited to this table where you can be as bold as to say, if you don't show up and you don't stand up, be counted out, and when you throw these contracts to the Chinese, shut up. Why would we have to shut up? If you throwing contracts to the Chinese, which they've been going to the Chinese are in Zimbabwe, in her home country. They're in Ghana. They're all throughout East Africa, definitely Uganda. So much so, folks are even adopting their language. It is mandatory, okay, that you learn Mandarin in Uganda. It is, and just recently Ghana adopted it for Ghana, Mandarin for Ghana. So we know who's coming with the financial muscle because they practice group economics. They have the finance to back it. They don't have to go begging for loans. They're not getting ripped off every 36 seconds. So no, it's not about us shutting up. It's about you deciding that you want us in it. And we used to have a term in the US, I don't know how often it's used anymore, but we used to have something called headhunters. And these was folks that was hired by agencies to go out and literally find the top candidates to be placed in positions where they could be competitive and hired for, because we knew they was the best of the best. Africa is perfectly capable of having headhunters. It's not as if Africa doesn't have its own millionaires and billionaires. These guys can find the best of the best if that's what they want to do. But never make it seem like the problem is we're not putting our hand up and we're not throwing our hat in, and that we're complaining, and so the final answer is shut up. No, it's not shut up. Nothing. If this segment is called Africa for Africans. And if the goal is to be inclusive, if you feel like we have the skill sets, the networking, the finance, whatever it is, to be included in that conversation, then keep it inclusive. Keep it that way. There's no shutting up. Because as soon as you say shut up, there's a wall up. And of course, the Chinese are ever ready to come in and do whatever they got to do. They're taking over everything. How can a country that's known for its cloth have that amount of fake cloth, okay? Going out of it produced by somebody else. And it's not somebody else, it's by the Chinese. So I don't know. We got to be careful what we're saying to one another, even as we at these tables trying to figure out how to engage with one another. In that same discussion, she says, how do we give contracts when we don't know where you are? How do we know about your businesses when you don't stand up? How did you learn about the Chinese's businesses? How did you give them contracts? Do the same thing with us with the inclusion of a headhunter. And then you will know who we have, somebody like Nas, who we have who has the financial muscle, who has the business mindset, who has a strong network of people, Damon Johns, who can come and actually be at that table, not the Acons of the world that's fantasizing about building cities, but folks that's actually capable of doing it and come with an amazing track record and money. But don't say that. These are some of the things that go on in these conversations that make it difficult for us to work together and make it difficult for us to build a bridge. Again, mad respect for Dr. Arikana, but on this particular issue, we got to correct this language. We got to do something different.